Where is Keddie? Keddie, California is a very small town in Plumas County, near the border with Nevada and in the Sierra Nevada mountains. In relation to bigger towns and cities, it's 90 miles northwest of Reno, Nevada and 140 miles northeast of Sacramento, California. The county seat of Plumas County, Quincy, is about 6 miles south of Keddie. The population at the 2010 census was 66, down from about 102,000. Keddie used to be a decently prominent railroad town, and it's even named after a railroad surveyor, Arthur Keddie. The Keddie Y, a railway cut through the mountains, is still a popular rail fanning spot. Keddie itself was considered a resort town, with cabins, a general store, a bar, etc. As the economy declined, the cabins started being used by squatters and rented out to low-income families. There were also plenty of rumors about drug smuggling/dealing in the cabins that made up the town. Despite all of this, it was still considered a decent, safe place to raise a family if you didn't have a lot of money. People didn't lock their doors, that type of thing. And from what I've gathered, the reputation of the town was really damaged by the murders, and it's been in an even steeper decline than it already had been since 1981. The victims. 3 of the 4 victims were members of the Sharp family. Glenna Sharp, who went by her middle name, Sue, was a 36-year-old single mother of 5 children: John, Johnny, 15; Sheila, 14; Tina, 12; Rick/Ricky, 5 or 10; Greg, 5 or 10. I found conflicting sources on ages for the youngest sons, but I know one was 5 and the other was 10. According to this site, which is extremely thorough but has a lot of information that I can't confirm through other sources, she had recently divorced her husband, or was in the process of doing so, and moved from Connecticut to the West Coast. The family lived in a trailer in nearby Quincy for a few months after arriving in California, but started renting the comparatively large cabin number 28, in Keddie in November 1980. Her oldest son was Johnny, Sharp, who attended Quincy High School. The night of the murders, one of Johnny's friends, 17-year-old Dana Wingate, was spending the night at the Sharp house, and hitchhiked there from Quincy, where they had spent the afternoon/evening. A friend of Ricky and Greg's, Justin, who we'll get to later in the series, was also sleeping over. Sue's older daughter, Sheila, was spending the night next door at cabin 27 with her friend. 12-year-old Tina, the younger Sharp daughter, wanted to sleep over as well, but the older girls wanted it to be just the 2 of them. The murders and Tina's abduction. The crime itself occurred late in the night on April 11 or very early on April 12, 1981. No one is really sure because, despite the brutality of the crime, neither neighbors nor the 3 youngest boys in the cabin claimed to have heard anything. We'll get to Justin's statements to police and how I regard them later. What we know is that on the morning April 12, Sheila Sharp returned from her sleepover, opened the door of cabin 28, and saw 3 dead bodies on the floor of the living room. She immediately screamed and ran back to cabin 27, and along with the friend's mother, went to the landlord's cabin, number 25, which had a phone, to call the Plumas County Sheriff's Department. Amazingly, when they returned to the cabin to wait for police, the 3 boys in the back bedroom were not injured. Sheila opened the window and helped them climb out through it to prevent Rick, Greg, and Justin from seeing what she saw. The 3 bodies in the cabin were those of Sue, Johnny, and Dana. All 3 of them had been bound with electrical wire, like extension cords, and medical tape. Near the bodies was a cheap kitchen knife, which had been used so forcefully that the blade was severely bent. There was also a bloody hammer found at the scene. According to the autopsy reports, the 3 of them died from blunt force trauma or exsanguination, loss of blood. Basically, they were beaten and stabbed to death. Police initially thought that one of the bodies found was that of Tina, but after the confusion was cleared up, it was determined that Tina was missing from the cabin. There were absolutely no clues as to where she was or had been taken, and with the police believing that she was the missing clue they needed to solve the case grew cold. Until 1984, Tina's remains found almost 3 years to the day after Sue, Johnny, and Dana were murdered. Part of a human skull was found at Camp 18, California. Camp 18 is in Butte County, which neighbors Plumas County. The most direct road route between Keddie and Camp 18 is almost 60 miles. No one thought much of it, as far as I could tell in the research, until an anonymous call to Butte County Police told them to search the area more thoroughly. They did, and the police found many more bones. I'm not sure if it was a complete set, but based on the research I assume it wasn't, including a jawbone, which was used to positively identify Tina Sharp through dental records. They also found other potential evidence, but nothing ever came out of these. Will the Keddie murders ever be solved? I hope one day they will be, if only to provide closure for the remaining members of the Sharp and Wingate families. The most likely suspect, according to law enforcement, died more than 10 years ago. Up next, in part 2, we'll talk more about the Sharps and Dana Wingate, and take a look at the autopsy reports for Sue, Johnny, and Dana.
I'm very impressed by your write-up considering you are still in high school. You did an excellent job. I didn't realize, or didn't remember, that not everyone in the cabin that night was murdered. I'm glad some of them made it out alive. This is such a tragic, horrific story. I hope it is solved someday, but it's so long now, I'm not sure it ever will be. It just makes no sense, and I don't believe there is anything similar to it that would help identify the murderer. I'm looking forward to part 2. From Wikipedia. From these discoveries, no new information regarding the crime surfaced in the media. However, Butte County Sheriff's Office released both the original and backup copy of the audio recording of the anonymous call to an undisclosed member of law enforcement. Both recordings were released to the same person at the same time, only to disappear. Great job. Psych, I started such a trend. I think you've done a great write-up here. I hope you don't let the fact that someone who has been working on it a long time and is now posting and answering questions directed at you deter you from continuing. I appreciate an unbiased viewpoint as well. I've read about this case many times, but for some reason never looked it up on a map. It really is in a remote area of the state. Definitely seems like the type of place someone would seek out in order to get away from something or somebody.
So, what's your theory on what happened? Post it in the comments below. Thank you for listening. You can find the original post in r/unresolved mysteries through the link in the description box below. I like being able to listen to posts when I'm busy doing something else and can't read them. So I made this video for anyone who wants to listen to their Reddit posts. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and don't forget to hit the subscribe button below to get more puzzling mysteries.